Hey everyone, today I want to share a topic about something I love very much, running. I saw a video on low heart rate training and it got me thinking. I've been doing low heart rate training. In fact, I've been doing almost exclusively low heart rate training because it's what I love, it's comfortable, it's almost meditative. I have playlists and music that, goes at a certain beat, so all I have to do is just run with it. But I've always resisted running like really low heart rate. Just like most people, when you do the calculations and you get the numbers, it gives you a range that you're like, I can't do that. But this guy really talked about it, and he talked about the benefits of it, and I really wanted that. So the key there was the what does it give you? Yes, it gives you aerobic base. It allows you to run faster. But what does it do? Well, I'm into biology, as you know. So what it does is actually ends up building a lot more small capillaries in your slow twitch muscles. And it also builds more mitochondria in your slow twitch muscles. And so the idea is when your fast twitch muscles use up the stores that are locally stored of glycogen and carbs, they start producing lactic acid, and it's the slow twitch muscles and the mitochondria and the extra things in there that are able to then actually burn that lactic acid away as energy. So that was a little bit eye-opening for me, and so more than ever, I want that. So I went on to a little journey to figure out if the heart rate range that I was using was actually correct. So what is meant by aerobic base running? It's 60 to 70% of your weekly running should be done at this level of exertion, and you should be running in zone 2. It's pretty non-specific. So let's look at the different ways that you can calculate this. The first method is actually very simple. It just takes your age into account. It uses 220 minus age to find out your max heart rate, and then you take percentages of your max heart rate. As you can imagine, the weakness of this is it only looks at your age. You could be extremely fit, you could be extremely unfit, you're going to get the same number. So the next level up from that is looking at your heart rate reserve, which takes into account your 220 and your age, but also your resting heart rate. So now we've got two numbers, and resting heart rate is a pretty strong indicator of physical fitness. So we're taking into account your age and your fitness level. This gives us a range between your resting heart rate and your max heart rate, which is calculated the same way. Then you take percentages of that. The next level up is the lactate threshold test. So this is a test you can do yourself to see if you can get a more accurate measurement of when your body actually switches from being able to keep up with the amount of lactic acid you're building up to where it's starting to accumulate in your blood and your heart rate starts to run away from you. So I decided to level it up to this level to see if I can get a more accurate reading. And of course, the final and highest level of accuracy would be to actually go to a lab and get tested. I'll quickly go into what the lactate threshold test entailed, and to be even more accurate, I would do it multiple more times, but it was really grueling and I'm not going to do that. But basically you run for 30 minutes and you try to put in a best time. Like how fast can you go for 30 minutes at where you can finish and say, I gave it my all. So it's going to be pretty intense. We also cut off the first 10 minutes, and you do run at that pace, but you don't look at your heart rate for that duration because it's probably ramping up and just coming up to speed. But the last 20 minutes is the thing you look at. You're continuing to run at that ambitious pace to try to wear yourself out at the end of 30 minutes while still running consistently the whole time. And you will want your average heart rate using hopefully a running watch or a strap device is even more accurate to get your average heart rate for that last 20 minutes. So I started to now go, okay, good, knowing that my lactate threshold heart rate is 158, what should be the range I should run in? And I started Googling for, when you're using the lactate threshold test and you have a number, what are the percentage ranges for the different zones? And for the aerobic zone / zone 2, I came up with a whole bunch of results that did not really agree with each other. So again, very confusing, very uncertain. I even asked ChatGPT, although ChatGPT's response was the outlier because I think it just took like all the ranges out there that are available for zone 2 and grouped them up, and maybe not necessarily looking at only when you're measuring against lactate threshold. Anyway, so you can see them there, 134 to 140 and 134 to 142. Those seem in my mind like the most likely because at least I saw it more than once. There was another range, 109 to 131, which was extremely wide, as was ChatGPT's range, extremely wide. So not as useful, although it kind of puts a top limit on it, 131. Obviously, you can run slower, as long as it's not too much slower. Confusing results. I wasn't sure what to do. So I decided, okay, let's look at my results so far, because I had been running in a certain range all this time, which I can't even remember now what I looked up. I'm pretty sure I used the heart rate reserve method. What have I achieved with that range? Well, look at that. My resting heart rate has come down from 60 to 52, even was at 48 at times. Hopefully I'm not trending upwards. Hopefully this is just, I am pushing training harder now because I'm so much more inspired lately for running. But my VO2 max has gone up from 37 to 41, nicking me up into the superior range for women of my age. So those are really good results, and I was super, super chuffed when I found that out. So I'm thinking, well, what I'm doing is working, so I don't actually want to change it too much, but I do want to step it up to the new way of calculating, so why don't I compromise? So my current training range has been 135 to 145. Clearly it was working. Here are the ranges we came up with, including the wide ones. And so my decision was, let's just cut it back a bit. So I looked at those two, the top one and the bottom one, and decided, you know what, let's pretty much keep the bottom of the range, but cut off the top to 140. Be a little more conservative, because it's possible I'm not quite targeting the benefits that I spoke about early on if I'm not quite slow enough. So yeah, I decided to do what's working, adjust it only a little bit, and I might even aim for the lower end, like try to stay closer to 135 most of the time. So one more thing to just wrap it all up, as I was Googling and trying to come up with the ranges, I also came across two places that actually said VO2 max is the single biggest predictor of longevity. Now, take that with a grain of salt, but that is really cool and exciting, especially when I've seen that my VO2 max has actually improved so much. You really got to take that as a grain of salt because there are so many factors that will affect longevity, all kinds of lifestyle factors and genetics. And we do need to take into consideration that my dad was actually pretty much Olympic level rower. The only reason they didn't go into the Olympics is they won the European Championships in the year between two Olympics, and then by the time the next Olympics came around, somebody got married, somebody had a kid, and they were done. They were a double skull. So yeah, I'm fortunate enough to have the genetics to go that far, but I thought that was a really cool additional tidbit. So I really hope you enjoyed today's video. It was definitely a lot longer, and it took me several days to pull the pieces together, but I really wanted to outline the little journey of discovery of honing in on your best range for your heart rate for aerobic based running, and to get the most benefits. And I hope it helps somebody you know, through the thought process of figuring out their own range, because hey, we're all individual, and just 220 minus age is a little bit rigid. All right, take care, have a great day, and see you on the next one.